Yay. Oh my goodness. You guys, I am so excited to welcome one of my dear internet friends that I have never met in person, but I cannot wait because I know it's going to happen. But her name is Marijo Vollmar, and we met through an online poetry community called Poems and Power, led by the incredible Chelsea Diane. And Mary Jo is a poet, a beautiful poet who really writes with so much honesty and heart about all kinds of things, but specifically, what I love that you write about and that you talk about is pro aging, healing, creativity. And I really, when I think of you, Mary Jo, I think of a woman for women. You like, I just got chills even saying that because you are always consistently lifting up other women in your community and just like shepherding the courage and the bravery of others. And not only just other women around the world, but also your daughter. I love seeing the way that you shepherd her and encourage her creativity. So that's one thing I just love about you. And then beyond your poetry, you also lead writing workshops. You have a book that I'd love you to talk about. And then I believe you also have a company called Seraphim Self Care. Is that how you say it? Is
That
that
is
correct?
correct.
Okay, beautiful. I'd love you to tell us about that, where you help people to reconnect to their strength, their bodies, their inner wisdom. And guys, her kindness and just courage and passion for life has made an impact on me, even through the internet. And we've never met in person, like I said. And so it's just such an honor and a gift to have you here, Mary Jo. So, would you like to add anything to that little introduction?
Oh my goodness. Dana, I'm like over here like smiling so hard because that is such a lovely introduction. And I actually have to tell you that I have been admiring you from afar because as well, because I love your creativity. I love that you work with children and that you are fostering the arts with them, especially with their songwriting and the ability to have a stage to really truly shine. Because honestly, I mean, that is what makes the world so beautiful. It's the art and the creativity, people being brave enough to say, this is me and I'm going to be fully expressed. So thank you so much for what you
Mm,
bring to the world.
thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, okay. So I have a few questions that I prepared. The first one is I think that you will really appreciate this as a fellow poet, Rainier Muriel Rilke, who is probably one of my all-time favorites, once said, live the questions now. So, what question are you currently living with, and how does it shape your art or your daily life?
So I turned 55 this year. And I
Okay.
decided as a celebration of that, because when I turned 50, I wanted to do something, but it was during the
Mhm.
pandemic, so that was impossible for me to do anything. So I said, okay, next big milestone birthday is 55. So I went to Paris, right?
Yes.
Yes. And I was able to go with a dear friend of mine, and it literally was the trip of a lifetime. And yeah, and during that time, I had the opportunity to just do a lot of self-reflection, and something came up that I was really kind of surprised. And to answer your question, the question that I have been living, and really, it's been a little bit of a challenge,
Yeah.
is that why do I feel the need to be responsible for other people's happiness? I was finding that as 50 was a really milestone birthday for me, not just because of it being 50, also because of during the pandemic, we had an opportunity to do just a lot of whatever. And for
Mhm.
whatever reason, that was a time for me. And people like to call it midlife crisis. And honestly, it's really a midlife awakening. It's like, okay, I think
Ooh.
some of that stuff they told us was like maybe not accurate. Yes, exactly. And so during that time, I just started, thinking about why I move the way I do, and when I started to like open up my heart, it was interesting how the universe sort of magnetized all of these thought, leaders and books and people like you. And I didn't realize how much I had been raised to be a people pleaser. And so I thought I was getting, rid of that, right?
Mhm.
And then when I went to Paris, I was like, wait a second, you really do walk into a room, read the room, and you find who's uncomfortable, and you're making yourself responsible for their happiness. And I
Mm,
realized when I was doing that, it was at a great expense to myself.
mm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so even though,
Oof.
I don't want people to not feel included, I also understand that they're responsible for themselves. And so it's been very challenging because fortunately I've had the opportunity to travel a lot this summer that sometimes I'll go, ugh, and I'm like, wait a second. You're responsible for you. They're responsible for them. Yes, you can be nice and
Mhm.
friendly, and yet you don't need to babysit other grown-ups.
Oof. Yes. Oh my gosh, that is such a powerful realization and question to be asking yourself. First of all, that was so iconic that you called it the midlife awakening. Was that what you said? Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Yes, I love that so much. I feel I so relate to you on that as well. The people pleasing. I don't know if it's just part of being a woman here on this planet or what it is, but holy cow, that is so real. Just always wanting to make sure everybody's okay, kind of like constant hostess mode. Um, totally get it. So, can I just ask? I know this wasn't planned, but how do you like step back? Is it just the awareness of it? Or like what helps you to be more comfortable in sort of releasing people? And I know it's a practice.
Yeah, well, it is a practice because just
Mm,
like everything else, unfortunately, people are like, ooh, I don't want to get older. I'm like, yes, you want to get older because the alternative is we get to leave the planet, and I'm not quite ready
right.
for that, right?
No.
And so it is a practice. And again, it's that realization that, hey, why do I move the way that I do? Right.
Hmm.
And so when I recognized the fact that I would reach out, and again, it's not a bad thing to reach out. And
Hmm.
yet, when I made it my responsibility, unbeknownst to myself, that I was making myself, or excuse me, not making myself, but giving myself that responsibility. And it's not like
Hmm.
the other person was asking me to do it. I was just assuming the role, right?
Yes.
It was really like, okay, let's step back a little bit more and ask the question,
Mm,
why am I doing that? And
mhm.
again, it's peeling back the layers. And at least for me, it was because I needed to have control of my environment. And then I was like, wait a
Yeah.
second, that control thing again, it's just like, what do they say? Well, this is the image that's coming to my head. It's like
Mhm.
if you have a little bird in your hand and you just keep tightening and tightening, tightening, no, that's not a gift anymore, right?
Mm,
It's just like releasing it. And
mm,
and I remember the first time I consciously went ahead and said, I'm not going to be responsible for so and so's happiness. I'm just going to see what happens. And I felt really rude, like I wasn't like tap dancing and making everybody happy. And then I got a text after the evening's over, like, I had the best time. That was so amazing. And I was like, oh, I
mm,
thought you were going to be like really angry with me. And the whole time I was like, no, they were responsible for themselves. And so,
mm.
it was such a big revelation.
Oh, that's so huge. That's so wild. I actually was just talking to someone about this yesterday, and she made the statement. She's like, nobody needs saving. You don't need to be the savior. And that really reminds me of what you're saying here. And I love that you are like digging into, okay, why do I do that? Oh, it's because I need the control of my space. And I think for me, it's like the and it's so icky to say this out loud, but when we do, it's like that shadow thing where once you release it, it doesn't have the power over you. Um, I think for me, I need to make sure that people like me. So it's not even, it sounds terrible, but it's like almost more self-serving than it is really for other. Because I'm like, if I really want to empower someone, which is what you and I are in the business of doing, we have to release that control and allow them to fall apart if they need to fall apart, right? And not to cater to everything that we think they need. We don't even know their true needs. So I just love that you also touched on like what that deeper reasoning is, because I think when we can touch that, then we can let go and be like, oh, wait, I don't want to be that controlling person. I don't want to be self-centered, and make it look pretty by like putting lipstick on it. You know what I mean? So I love that. That's so profound. So good. It's a really good question to be asking.
Well, Dina, to your point,
Hmm.
when I started this sort of, well, I'm going to back up for just a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
So being 55, right? And I
Hmm.
have the opportunity to kind of look back at my life, right? So
Yeah.
20s was all like, okay, I have to figure out how to be an adult, right?
Hmm.
And then
Totally.
yeah, and then 30s was like, okay, like I have a handle of this adult thing. And so 40 is like, okay, now people really believe I'm an adult, right? And then
Yes.
and like now I'm really like stepping into it because now I'm in leadership roles and all this kind of stuff. And then when I hit 50, I was like, why am I doing anything? Like, why am I, why? And then I realized that I actually was on autopilot like a lot. I
Mm.
literally was like, okay, well, the expectation of an adult in this situation would be this, and an expectation of a woman in this situation would be here. And I realized that I wasn't even consciously like making choices. I was just following what I thought everybody expected of me. And when I was like, wait a second, why do you do what you do? Sometimes
Yeah.
I couldn't really even answer that. I'm like, because I
Mm.
should.
Right.
And
Right.
should is a horrible reason to do things.
Horrible. Right.
Horrible.
Right. Yes. Oh, that's so good. I think that right there encapsulates the power of following you online because you're just like, why are you doing that? Do what you want to do. What is it that you want? And oh, I just love it. So I'm so excited. I've already seen that some of my friends have started following you just from like our little interactions. I'm like, yes, we need more of your energy in this world. So love. Okay, so I have another question just to keep this rolling. Can you share the story? And I know we've kind of been going towards it, but the story of how you became an artist, what first pulled you towards creativity and what keeps you devoted to it now?
Okay, well, so this is a story
Cool.
because when when you're little, and I'm gonna
Hmm.
literally pick the ages of like 6 and 7, okay? And so, like, when you're four, don't have a whole lot of experience in the world, and nor do you have like the language,
Hmm.
whether it's expressive or receptive, you don't have the language to really voice what you want. And yet, when you're 6 or 7, you have a little bit more experience on your belt, and
Sure.
also the vocabulary and capacity to express that. And so, I remember what a badass I was, if I can say that.
Yeah,
I
say
remember what yeah, I remember what a
it.
badass I was when I was six or
Hmm.
seven. And then, something happened and someone said no, and I was like, ooh, I need to rein that in, right?
Mm.
And then as I kept navigating the world and more of those no's happened, I started to like shape myself into forms that were acceptable depending on what the situation was, right?
Hmm.
And so hence the story of my life up until again that magic age of 50, and I started asking myself why I was moving the way I was moving, and I was like going, okay, well, if I'm moving based on what other people's expectations are, and I'm at this place where I'm like, I feel like I'm covered in slime right now,
Mm.
okay, let's remember when I was actually fully me. And so
Mm.
at age 50, I started like peeling back the layers and going, okay. And honestly, sometimes the 17-year-old shows up. Sometimes the 24-year-old
Sure.
shows up. Sometimes the 55-year-old person shows up. And yet
Yes.
my favorite is that unadulterated version of me. And so to answer your question, when did the creativity come back? When I started going, okay, what do you want? Because like you tried all the other suits that people said, you should be wearing. And I went, okay, so when I was really the happiest, it was
Hmm.
when I was writing and reading.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah. And I was that kid who was a summer reading program. I went to my personal pan pizza, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And and yeah, and so, like literally, I just remember being a 6 or 7, and when letters started forming into words, and then words starting sentences and stories, I
Hmm.
just started really picking up my own pen and doing like the same thing.
Totally.
Yeah, and so because of the magic of social media, somehow. and actually that's a story because I know exactly how it happened. Chelsea Diane of Poems and Peonies showed
Yeah.
up. Went, wow, this is a very interesting woman who is very living out loud, right?
Hmm.
And so I started following her. And then I was like, okay, let me just think about going to class. And I sort of DM'd her, like, well, when I'm done with all these blah, 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 blah things, I'll join your class. And she's like, oh, no, you need to do it like right now.
No. So
Yeah,
Chelsea.
exactly. And so having that opportunity, I had always wanted to write poems. A little
Mm.
fun fact about me is that my undergraduate was actually in journalism. So I was a
Wow.
yeah, I was a local TV, radio, and then excuse me, radio and then television news reporter. So I
Okay.
covered politics, and it was not creative. It was informative writing,
Sure.
right?
Okay.
And so I do have a writing background formally. And so I was like, oh, I always want to write poetry, but that's for like the artists, right? That's for like
Mm.
else. And then I went to Chelsea Diane's class, and then she's like, blah, blah, big, 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 right? And then
Right.
she's like, now we're gonna write. And because like I have that deadline ability, when someone says write something, Mary Jo, she's like,
Yeah.
here's your prompt, go. And I was like, okay. I literally like ended class. I said, what happened? And then I looked at the paper and read what I wrote, and I went, I didn't even know, first of all, I could write like that. Secondly, I didn't even know I had thoughts like that.
Yeah.
So that was just like, it's like literally the biggest permission slip for me to just go,
Mm.
let's just do this and see what happens.
Hell yeah.
And here we are.
That's so good. Oh my God. Yes. It's so beautiful. Isn't that the truth though? That you're like, I'm just gonna do what I remember loving to do the last time I felt completely myself when I was 5 or 6, you
Yeah.
know? Oh, so good. And then having that permission slip to just be like, no, you're not waiting. You're gonna show up right now and you're gonna do it. Like there's something about that. Because everything, I think it's so much to do with life is right now in this moment. We can be like spinning off on, oh, this is what happened last night or 10 years ago or what I have coming up this afternoon. But to really, I think that the role of the artist is to remember that life is right now. Isn't that kind of it?
Okay. So another little story about
Yeah.
me is
Yeah.
that I didn't know it at the time. I had the first occasion because it happened twice.
Hmm.
The first occasion, I had my son, my eldest, and I didn't know that I was literally dying afterwards. Okay, because like no, I was in the ICU, but nobody told me because he was
Oh my
also in the
God.
ICU. He was out. It was just this horrible labor
Wow.
and delivery, and I didn't know until like months later after I was out of the hospital that people are like, they didn't expect you to like make it through that, right?
Wow.
And so it put a whole different spin on my life when I was like, wait a second, that was about to be taken from me, and I didn't know it, right?
Yeah.
And then later on I had a similar experience where I was in the hospital bed, and I was literally like, if I get out of this, it wasn't even
Mm,
like more so like when, because it was sort of like, how many times can you dance with death, and
sure.
you know what I mean? And I'm like, so what's the other side gonna look like?
Mm,
And so I just really feel like every day, even the days, when the covers are up here and you don't want to get out of bed type of thing, I'm like, wait a second, I'm not supposed to be here. So why am I doing this wallowing? It's like, get out of bed. Like this is another
yes.
gifted. So
Mm.
that's kind of where I operate from.
Yeah. Oh, it's so evident. It's so evident. Yeah. Do you find I love the way that poetry and songwriting and creativity in general, it gives you permission to also have those days where the cover is pulled up and the way, at least for me, to get out of it, to navigate my way through is to write about it, to give that piece a voice. Is that something that you do as well?
Oh yeah, and here's the thing. It's funny because there's always this joke about how
Hmm.
like the internet's always like pretty and
Yeah,
it's all like, filtered and fabricated and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's
totally.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that we acknowledge, the ebb and flow because that's what nature is. There
Mm,
goes in and out. There's tides, and
mm-hmm,
so that's exactly how life is as well. We have seasons of ebb
mm,
and flow, and to really not recognize the dark parts is false. It's a false reality because you have to have the lows in order to have the highs.
mm,
And so when you're talking about having what I consider alchemy, you have those.
mm-hmm.
I have those covers up really high, and you're like, okay, I'm on borrowed time now,
Yeah,
and I really need to like move this out of me.
yeah,
And like you said, to have that creative outlet. I mean,
mm,
honestly, some of the best work really comes from the dark. It's really
it
like
does.
saying, I see you, and I'm going to give you a voice.
Mm, yes, exactly. And then when you share it, it's just like the most wonderful exchange because you're allowing other people to say, like, oh, wow, I didn't want to talk about my version of that. But now that you have, I feel more connected and less alone. And I feel like I can make it through another day because I know I'm not alone now. And I think that's like just one of the most beautiful gifts of this work that we get to play in, you know. Oh,
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
good.
And I think that goes like for all art because
Mm-hmm.
it's just this universality. That's even a word, but that
Yes.
universal feeling.
Yes.
It's just like you said, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And sometimes like I'll write something and I'm just like, it's sort of mid. You know what I mean?
Totally. Totally.
And
All
then
the time.
I'm like, okay. However, I'm going to put it out there just because like my inner voice is saying just put it out there. And then
Yeah.
someone, texts me or DMs me or phone calls me and they're just like, those are the exact words I needed to hear. And I was like, okay. So even if I don't think it's like, whatever,
Right.
it's that human exchange that we're talking about. That is why we're
Exactly.
even here in the first place, right?
Yes. Yes. So good. Okay, so on that kind of same note, if your work carried one message or like a medicine into the world, what would you want it to be?
Oh, geez. I'm really glad that you didn't say give it to me in one word.
Oh yeah, no, no,
Because
no.
yeah,
We are poets.
yes, exactly, exactly. So the message that I always want to impart to people is there is
Mm,
only one you.
mm,
There is only one you. Never in the history of mankind going forward or backward will there ever be someone exactly like you. And if people really understood that they were crafted by the creator in this
mm,
in this being that will never ever 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 exist again,
mm,
that's so precious. And
mhm.
oftentimes I say this to my friends and they say it back to me, and thank God we're mirrors for each other, right?
Thank God. Yeah.
It's like if people could see themselves through the eyes of people who love them, they
Mm,
would just give themselves so much more grace and so much permission to live more fully.
mm.
And yet, we're always our own worst critics, right?
Yes. Wow. That's
Yeah.
really profound. Can you say that one more time for the people in
You,
the
well,
back?
first of all, we are always our own worst critics,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And yet, there is no one ever in the history of mankind who will ever exist that is exactly you. So just like go. I mean, like run, run, run with
Yes.
that and just live fully expressed because honestly, I know this sounds so morbid, but we're mortal and
Yep.
we're all gonna die. And so, like,
Right.
this magnificence that's you, please share that. Like,
Right.
share that.
That's so good. So good. Yeah, and it's so true. I mean, especially as professed people pleasers in the past, we know what it's like to just shepherd the gifts and like encourage the people around us. And we want to see them shine so badly. But if we're not giving ourselves that same permission, then they're not even going to like get anything out of that. So we should not waste our breath. They need to see us living that way. And that is the permission slip. I feel like that's been proven to me so many times too. Like if you stop trying to get everybody else, fix everyone else, and you start not fixing, but you start just living, you see all these other people just start to bloom in front of you. You didn't even have to do anything.
and case in point, I
Yeah.
mean, I've had the opportunity to follow you on social media and to see you blossom into all the
Mhm.
things that you're currently doing, especially like the poetry workshops that you're teaching. I mean, you just
Yeah.
did Lana Del Rey. I mean, come on.
Yes.
Again, that full expression of you has a ripple effect because
Mm.
remember, I know you know because it's fresh in your mind. Remember the
Yeah.
faces of the women in your class. And you're
Yeah.
like, okay, sometimes people are like, like, I don't want to say that I did that, but you did do that. But you
Yeah.
did do that.
Yeah.
And then you and your full expression allow them to go, she's brave, so I'm gonna be brave too.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Isn't that the truth? We just
Yeah.
want to see people living, so we can
Yes.
do that too. I love that. That is such beautiful medicine that you bring in this world. I
Well,
love
thank
it.
you. Well, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
And yet I will tell you, it is really a community thing. Again,
Mm-hmm.
my person, um, well, it even started before Chelsea, even
Mm-hmm.
though Chelsea is a
Totally.
big, huge
Huge.
personality, right?
Yeah,
It started with other women.
of
And the
course.
fact that when we go ahead and it's really important that women really champion each other because I really honestly don't understand well, actually I do. The competitiveness that
Right.
women have oftentimes is because they want something that somebody else is doing, right?
Yeah.
They're just instead of like being brave,
Mm-hmm.
they're judging it. And it's just like, no, 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 my dear. What you see is
Mm-hmm.
what you want. So like go get it. Go get
Yes.
it.
So good. Yeah, that's so real. I know. I I think that's such a real part of being a woman is there's a temptation um to be envious or to be jealous. And it's like, wait, the medicine to that is to cheer them on. Cheer them on and say, wow, she's doing it, so can I. That means I can too, you know? But I, I I don't know, I have a lot of thoughts about this because I think it's very patriarchal. They're like trying to divide us and get us against one another. But the power comes when we can champion one another and really see that magic in medicine that each of us has to give. And like, God, how beautiful this world continues to become when we step into our power. Oh,
Well,
I love it.
it's really in our DNA.
Mm,
if we think about how societies were, back when we were
hmm.
gather societies,
Yes.
right? And so like the men would literally go off and they would either war or hunt or whatever. And
Hmm.
so whole communities were literally interlaced with these relationships that women had. So we
Yes.
raised our kids, we raised our crops, we did everything in community with other women. And so
Hmm.
have that remembering of that's how societies flourished forever,
Yes.
I think is really important, going forward. And so like you said, this very patriarchal structure that has, in my opinion, advanced because of all the advancements we've had.
Right.
And yet because of the advancements we have, there are women that we can like reach out to. I mean, I have friends in Europe, in Asia, I haven't even
Yeah.
met yet. And we have these conversations
Right.
that we are going to move the world forward through women. And it's just
Right.
such a beautiful thing when we remember in our bones and our DNA at our cellular level that we are universal and connected. And there should never need to be any division among women.
Yeah, you're so right. I love the word remember. I love that you use that because it really is a remembrance. And it's like when you allow yourself that permission, when you're like, okay, I've been holding on to this like fear, competitiveness, and then you're like, wait, I'm just gonna like dip my toe into that river of remembrance that maybe it could be safe. Maybe I could be safe to cheer this woman on, and you dip your toe in and it's like, oh, you're just covered in that river then. You're like, oh, wait, that's how life works. That's the flow. Now I remember what we're meant for. Now I remember. And you like it's just everything starts to flow naturally because you're stepping back into your natural rhythm and the natural pattern of women coming together. Like you just said, that's so beautiful. And it's because that was the way that we are designed. Um, so God, that is so I just love that image of like the remembrance because it just gets you back, like clicks you back into alignment. you know? So good. Oh,
Well,
love
well,
it.
I really have to tell you this thing about
Hmm.
remembrance.
Yeah,
It's really very universal for me because, you can sit there and go, okay, well, I had this life experience and I went to school for
sure.
this, and I have this like thing on my diploma wall, whatever and whatnot.
Yeah,
And honestly, those things are nice because it's good to have goals and achievements.
of course.
And yet, I have this running philosophy that when we're created, we came here with everything, with the innate knowledge of how to be like a really excellent human being, right?
Mm,
And because again, we need to be safe with the people who we are surrounding ourselves, we start to alter ourselves just to
mm,
make sure that we have our basic needs met when we're younger, right?
mm,
And I
hmm.
had amazing parents, and so it's not anything like that. And yet, again, there was a lot of alteration to be able to fit. And so,
Hmm.
honestly, this remembering is a really big deal. And just to give you an image of
Hmm.
remembering is like I was never really a fairy princess girl. That was never me, but I was kind of like the bog witch. I would be out there in my
Yeah,
skirts,
cool.
digging up the dirt and like making potions out of leaves and things like
Love it.
that. And that's what it feels like whenever women gather, is that we twirl our skirts, we give each other recipes, we talk about the rocks around our necks, and all these things that we liked
Mm,
when we were younger. And so really
mm,
this remembering is such a huge thing, because if anything, the work that you and I do is really just
mhm.
asking people to remember their true selves before, whatever happened to them got a hold of them.
Oh, it's so real. That's really the simplicity of it, isn't it? Remember who we are. Yes, because the world needs it. Okay. So we've really touched on creativity being a healing force in your life. But do you have any rituals or practices that has helped you to stay grounded and in touch with that muse that speaks through you?
Oh, geez. So this
Mhm.
is kind of a funny thing because I didn't realize this about myself until I went to Paris. Okay,
Mm,
and so Paris is a walking city. It really truly is. I mean, the metros are very deep, and the architecture is spectacular. So literally, just the way that Paris is they have these things called étoiles. So it
mm,
is a star-shaped pattern of a
oh,
like a monument, for example, and then eight roads come off of it. So the thing is, you
yeah.
could just pick a road and just walk, 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 and it's going to be spectacular. And so one thing I realized about myself is that I have to move. I am a girl who, if I'm not moving my body in some kind
Yeah.
of way, the ugly comes into my brain.
Hmm.
Whatever it's, like somebody said something mean to me,
Right.
or I read something in the newspaper that just like really gutted me, and all this kind of stuff. I didn't realize how much lack of physical movement, embodiment.
Hmm.
I love that word, embodiment, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much that impacted me if I wasn't able to access my world through my body.
Mm,
And that's really something that I challenge myself to do. And because my actual business is that, by training, I'm a physical therapist. And
hmm.
right now, my actual work is I do functional movement based personal training, which means
Wow.
that I get people, it's like a whole body approach. It's like, what's your goal? Let's not just look at an injured shoulder. Let's look at
Sure.
how you want to play pickleball, right?
Mm,
And so this idea of like just like using this body, because we are human beings, right? We're human beings who live on an earth with gravity, and that's really been a practice that I have embodied and embraced since coming back from Paris.
mm,
Is I move my body. I remember I'm an earthling, I'm an earth creature. I get my feet in the dirt, I swim in the lakes, I
mm.
walk, walk, walk. It really is very healing to use this body. And I'm so grateful because there was a time I didn't have optimal health.
Yeah.
And now that I have this body, I'm like, oh, let's take really good care of her,
Mm,
move her. So that's really what keeps me grounded these days.
beautiful. Oh, I love that. It's so real. So real. We can tend to get like way up in our heads, and getting back in our bodies is like just such an important practice. So I love that you touched on that because, I think sometimes we're like, oh, I sit down with my journal every morning, or, there's all kinds of ways that people tap into their creativity. But I'm like you, where I need to like get into the earth. That really is what does it
It's
ultimately. So, so beautiful. Okay, so what are you reading, listening to, or experiencing right now that's feeding your imagination?
Okay, so this is a very funny story that
Okay.
if my older daughter is listening to this, she's just gonna be like so like, oh mom, I can't believe you're talking about
Ah,
this. But it really was the surprise of 2025 for me. Okay. So I am a little bit, or was, let me say, I was a little bit of a literary snob, where I was like, okay, I need to read Dostoevsky and Kafka and Sylvia Plath and all this kind of stuff,
yeah,
and which are wonderful, right?
wonderful.
Wonderful. And so I was always picking up a book, and actually, I tend to read like two or three at the same time because that's just my
Yeah,
attention span, right?
same.
Yeah, and so my stack is this, and it's not like reading. It's not like you're gonna sit there and go,
Right.
"I escape into the whatever." Because Crime and Punishment, I couldn't even finish it because I got PTSD. Okay, I mean it was so well written, I couldn't even
So well
finish it.
read.
So anyway, my dearest friend, so Ariel, if you're listening, this is for you,
Yeah.
and Peyton as well.
Mm,
It was really cute because I was like, "Hey, I'm feeling sort of this like void of whatever and whatnot," and so
mm.
she leans into me. She's like, "You need to read A Crown of Thorns and Roses."
Ooh,
And,
that is
and I'm
on my
like,
shelf.
"Oh, okay,
I
okay.
haven't
So
read
let
it
me
yet.
tell you.
Okay.
Okay, so let me tell you. So anyway, I was like, huh? And she's like, just don't. She's like, don't even question it. You need this in your life. You need this. And so I remember flying down to LA, and it's a rather thick book, and I had it under my arm, and my daughter picks me up from the airport, right? And she goes, "Mom, you're reading fairy smut." And I was like,
What?
"What?" I said, "This is just no huntress, and this fairy guy." And I said,
Right.
"It's entertaining." And she's just like, "Mom, it's fairy smut."
Oh my
And
God.
and I was laughing. I said, "I'm just gonna read it because I'm invested already, right?"
Right. Right.
And so like 5 books in, that was my entire summer.
Oh
Like I
my
read
God.
book after book after book.
Love.
So here's the thing, okay? It's not Dostoevsky. Okay, let's just like get that out of the picture, right? And yet, without giving away the whole plot for somebody who hasn't read the
Sure.
book yet, um, it's a fanciful tale
Hmm.
of women who are completely empowered. They are
Mm.
completely empowered. And yes, there's, all this mystical magic and all that's I'm so down with that because like the world is heavy enough. If there's like a fanciful world out
Well,
there that women are empowered, I'm
yeah.
like I am so all for it. And
Yes.
it's even bled into like other areas because like my inner
Ooh,
child, she just
of
runs the
course.
show. So like when I'm weight training, because again, that's something my body just loves right now.
Hmm.
It's not like, oh, I'm sitting here like trying to be like buff or anything like that. It's just like I'm actually here for warrior training. We are here for warrior training because who knows when I'm gonna wake up and there's whatever needs to be saved. I need to be strong
Hmm.
for that. And so it's
Yes.
just such a delightful way. It was such a surprise. I never thought I
Mm.
would love these books as much as I do. And yet, women empowered in so many ways. I was just like, I'm so enamored. And so, thank
Oh
you
my
to
gosh.
Sarah Moss, who's written these books. I mean, they're absolutely
Ugh.
entertaining and empowering.
Oh my God. Okay, you have definitely inspired me to pick it up off my shelf. I'm going to read that next.
I love that.
I love it.
And it was such a surprise. Again, I was such a literary snob. I'm like, I need to read
Totally.
da da da. And then
Right.
these books, it was like I was eating them. I couldn't read them fast enough.
Wow. Ooh, I love that feeling. Isn't that the
It is.
best? Okay, I cannot wait to dive in and then we'll do a little book club.
Oh,
We'll
love it. I love that.
for sure. Very smart. So good.
Can
Oh
I,
my
can you,
God.
I'm sure who your audience is ours, so
Yeah,
I'm just gonna be really careful about this.
totally.
So the thing is that's interesting to me is that,
Hmm.
people say the word smut, right?
Hmm.
And that's one thing that I really would love to see society debunk about women,
Hmm.
because this thing that it's either this virgin or whore thing is
Mm.
not fair. It's so not fair, because if we go
So
to that back,
unfair.
it's this embodiment thing. I mean,
Yeah.
to this earth to have a human experience. And
Mm.
this idea that sexuality is either virgin or whore is not fair to women, because we are
Mhm.
embodied human beings. And to just
Mhm.
normalize the fact that we're embodied people. I mean,
Right. Come
come
on.
on. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
I
So,
love that. So, Marijo, we just had a new bookstore that opened up here a little north of Chicago, and it's called the Pink Couch Books. And it's the cutest little bookshop, and it's only romance. And that is one of the places where they've been hosting my poetry workshops. And the first workshop I held there was based on Frida Kahlo. And we were using her to kind of dig up our own shadow. And one of the discussions that came up with the owner of the bookshop was about how if I can admit that this one piece of me is a lover girl, like just so in love with love. And as a teenager, that, came out in ways uh, that I was ashamed of, like I'd hide sneaking out at night to like go and visit a boy or whatever, things like that. But when we can take that part of us and then use it to write, whether it's poetry or a song or prose, whatever it is, or painting, and give it a voice and give it space to speak and just be its ultimate extreme version of itself. There's something then that I no longer need to be boy crazy anymore because I'm like, oh, I just lived that out. You know what I mean? And so she was saying how the beauty of the smut kind of book is it does the same thing. It gives women permission, or whoever was reading it, permission to live out that extreme, or maybe not extreme is the right word, but to live out that part of themselves in a safe way where then they're like, ooh, that was really fun. That felt a little bit taboo even. But now that I've done it, it's sort of like it's integrated into the whole of me rather than like back in the shadow, like closed behind a curtain, right? It just becomes part of the whole, and then it's not controlling anything anymore. So it was a really cool discussion. So it reminds me of what you're saying here with the reclaiming that word
yeah.
smut. I love that.
And Dina, I mean that conversation, I wish I had like been a fly on the wall, because
Yes.
it's such an important it's such an important discussion to have, because honestly,
Yeah.
here we go. I'm just letting it rip
Go
now.
for it.
Sexuality really is part of the human experience, and
Yeah.
because people need to drop it into boxes that they can understand, because that word that just what is they say shame. What do they say about
Mm,
shame? Something about you accepting other people's
mm,
lies about you,
mm.
right? And
Oof.
it's just like this idea that certain things are shameful. It's just
Yeah.
like, again, when we go back to nature, there's ebb and flow, okay? And then
Mm-hmm.
if we dig a little deeper, there's light and dark. And so we don't just want a one-shaded human being. We want
Right.
all the shades of the human. And
Mm,
to sit there and just normalize that, we have all these different ways to express ourselves. And like you said, taking something that's out of the dark and then putting it out here and going, I see you. And
mm,
there's value in this, right? Just allows people to live more fully. And I honestly feel like a lot of this stuff called depression, and I know depression is real.
yes,
I've had it. I know everybody has
totally.
had episodes in their lives. And yet I feel like a lot of depression can be alleviated when people have
Mm,
that permission slip to go, I am valuable.
mm,
Every single part of me, every
yes.
single part of me is valuable.
Mm, yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like
Yes,
shame game. Let's keep whacking at that. Let's just keep
yes, yes,
whacking.
yes. And I love that you touched on the piece of depression too. I just from personal, as you said, we've all dealt with it from time to time, and working with youth. I think that that's a huge thing that we run into. and creativity and giving ourselves that permission to really go into those places that we feel like we need to hide. It's and then finding community around it. How
Yeah.
beautiful,
Yes.
right?
Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Excuse me. I just have to. This is a
No,
remnant from
you're
a.
good.
Sorry. This idea of homogenous
Yeah.
really has got to go. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at, again, I keep going to nature because Mother Nature is such a vital force in my life. I mean, there
Mm.
are so many trees, there are so
Hmm.
many flowers in the garden. And so if we just had one of the same all the time, it wouldn't be as
Mm.
beautiful as it truly is. And so I really, I would love to challenge people who have their boxes to
Hmm.
just go, what would happen if I just let people be? And all
Yeah.
I really cared about was, me being me. And I
Yeah.
think things would go a lot easier for everybody.
I think so too. I think you're onto something. Definitely. Let that be a challenge to any
Yeah, there
listener.
you go. Love that. Love
And to
that.
me, for sure. Because, it's like whenever I challenge someone, I'm like, ooh, I need to challenge myself in that as well. Like, how can I go even deeper? Right. So good. Okay. We could just talk all day long, but I have I have two little questions for you, but one last one here that is written out is what does it mean to you to live a creative life beyond just making art?
Oh, it goes back to that whole I'm on borrowed time.
Mm,
I'm on borrowed time. And it's
yeah.
so funny because uh when I think about it, and it's so funny, part of me is always like, why are you always talking about your age, Mary Jo? And I'm like, because you made it this far, right?
Yeah.
You made it this far. And as the timeline goes, the exit door is closer to me than the entrance door of this life.
Mm,
And
yeah.
when I think about, the average human in the United States gets to live until 79. I mean, that's just statistics. That's just statistics. And I'm 55. And I'm
Mm,
kind of like, oh my gosh. I
yeah.
know that 25 years goes that quick, right? And so
Yeah.
it's one of these things where it's just like, I wake up, my eyes get to open. It's just like, okay, there's magic out there. I need to find it, or it needs to find me. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
And like, show me the magic. And
Yeah.
so really that's even on days like when the covers are, want to be
Mm-hmm.
high, I lower them a little bit. And this is actually a trick that I use with my clients, and I've been doing it for a while, is on the days where you're I'm going so sideways right now,
No, I
but
love it. Please.
okay, good. On the days that you forget yourself, like
Mm,
literally, like make a list, like literally write it down, like things that make
yeah.
me happy. And so, like on
Mm,
those days where you forget, like, okay, I know that I'm in a funk and I don't know how to get myself out, and I can't even
yeah.
like get up to take a shower. Find your list. I mean, like stick it like inside of your journal, and just start remembering.
Ooh.
And okay, can I just give you this tip because this one's actually really
Yes. Give me
good.
all the tips.
Okay. So this came from my client who's an actor, and it's
Cool.
a really good one. It's a really good one. He told me that when you're in the funk, make the most crazy laugh you can come up with. Like literally, like just like, but loud and super crazy, and just keep doing it. Because the wilder it
I
gets,
love
then
it.
you just like, this is so ridiculous. Then
Right.
the pure laughter comes
Oh
out.
my God. That's so good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that. That's so good.
And honestly, seriously, for funsies, like when
Yeah.
when you when you and I part ways, just
Yeah.
do it.
I'm
And,
totally going to.
and because it is so ridiculously fun
So
that,
ridiculous. Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah,
Oh,
it's
I love it. It's so fun. The other thing I'll do is I just jump. I like just have to start jumping up and down like that physicality and you're like, this is ridiculous. Like I look so silly, but I'm just then you start laughing at yourself. It's amazing.
okay,
So
really quick.
fun.
Do you remember
Yeah.
the movie Garden State?
Yes, of
Okay,
course.
so remember when Natalie Portman's character, she started doing that like weird dance? She's like, just
Yes.
how that is also very fun.
Mm, okay. I know what I'm doing later.
No,
Love
it
it.
really is fun. When you give
So
yourself
fun.
the permission to have fun, I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, people are like, I don't want to be ridiculous. I'm like, why?
Why not?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's so good. So my little last question was gonna be like, what is your advice for someone, for a young woman, maybe just turning 30 or around there where she's taking her life too seriously? And you kind of just answered it. But if you have anything else, I'd love to hear it. But that's such a
Well,
good,
well, Dana, it goes right back to what we talked
yeah,
about before. It's
yeah,
the remembering. You
yeah.
came into this world with everything. I promise you, you came into this world with
Mm,
everything that you needed to be this outstanding human being. And so
mm,
it's like literally, if you're in the place that you're like, I don't know,
yeah.
that's the time to like go into the woods, take your shoes off, and find that inner voice that actually knows the answer.
Mm,
It's here. It's just
yeah.
giving yourself the allowance to go, I will listen to you this time.
Mm, yeah. Ooh, that is a really good note to end on. Thank you.
Very
Mm. Okay, Mary Jo, how can everyone find you? Because I know they're going to want to. Please tell us about your book and how we can order it.
short. So I play mostly in Instagram.
Yes.
Okay. And my handle is MJV, V like victory,
Hmm.
Coast. Okay.
Hmm.
And I have links there to all
Hmm.
of my whereabouts. So whether you want to look at what I do for a paycheck, or if you want to see what my poetry looks like, there are
Hmm.
links right there. And
Beautiful.
so I made it like kind of one-stop shopping. So that's all I'm going to say. I could give you all kinds of like
Love it.
websites, all that kind of stuff, but if you're an Instagram person, go out there and you can find all the details right there.
Beautiful. And I will also be linking you. So there's no need to worry if you didn't get that. And
Mm.
then I don't know if you have it available, but would you be able to read us a poem before we go? Something that you've
I
written?
I am laughing because like yes. So
Yes.
I'm laughing because I was like, what am I gonna read? And I'm like, you're gonna read, and this is so funny because it's kind of like spin the bottle. We are literally going to like just see
Spin
what
that
happens.
bottle. Ooh,
Okay.
I love it.
Okay,
Can't go
so
wrong.
so really quick, I just do want to talk about this book. So
Yes.
21 is a permission slip. Okay, and so it's 28 poems, and I talk about it in the forward because once upon a time, time wasn't this Gregorian calendar that we had of 30 or 31 days. Okay,
Mm.
28 is a nod to a woman's cycle. Okay, right?
Ooh, yes.
So it's 28 poems, and the idea is that a person goes ahead and they read a poem, and after each poem is a prompt for creativity. So the idea is, I don't
Mm.
care if you interpretive dance, I don't care if you draw, I don't
Yes.
care if you do an after poem. The idea is just as an allowance to create based on a poetry, a poem, and then a prompt of whatever. It doesn't even have to be
Beautiful.
a poem. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm
Okay.
laughing because I did spin the bottle.
Ah!
And so it's 14 out of 20.
14.
And again,
Okay.
I actually don't remember. I just numbered them. I mean, it was all channeled. I just numbered them. So I don't even know what I'm reading because it's been a
Love.
minute. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, this is so timely.
Ah! Of course
Nothing's a
it is.
mistake. Okay. Okay. I am more sinner than saint. Love and loins, booty and brains, tits and temper and tenderness, mother and mistress. I no longer stretch. I ooze the
Mm.
feminine, the soft, which is stronger than you ever thought.
Mm. Oh, Mary Jo. Wow.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. That was the perfect poem to end on. Oh my God. Wow. Can you read that last line? Or did you? I think you might have closed it,
Well,
but
no,
that
it's okay because,
last line.
yeah, we'll just, so it says,
Mm,
okay, all right, the feminine, the soft, which is stronger than you ever thought.
mm, that right there, friend. Oh my God. The feminine, the soft. Yes, that's our power. And I think I want to leave everyone here who's listening with that just challenge and that encouragement to lean into your femininity and to know it as beautiful, that softness that's within you, that desire to go out into the woods and take your shoes off and ask, who am I? What am I here to do? To jump, to make really ridiculous laughs until you are cracking up yourself, right? That I have full body chills right now, which always to me is a symbol, a signal that the spirit is here and just working in and through us and speaking. And um, thank you for this conversation. It was so sacred and beautiful. And I'm so honored to know you. Like, what? What a beautiful mirror that I get to know you in this life. And now everyone listening gets to know you too. So thank you so much, Mary Jo. It's been such a blessing to be here with
Oh,
you.
my absolute
Mm.
pleasure, excuse me, my absolute pleasure. And I have to say
Mm.
that you and I could literally do this all day
Literally
long.
all day. I know I'm like
I
giving you
literally just
some.
want to jump into the screen and hug you right now. It's just,
One day we will. One
I
day.
love that. Promise, promise. I
Promise.
look forward to that
Promise.
day.
Yes, me too. Thank you, friend. Okay,
Thank
I'm
you.
going to stop the recording.